Welcome back to Bike. This is going to be a short video. I'm just going to show you how to put a seat on. We have to try to assume that people don't know what they're doing, and that the reason you're looking at videos is because you're like, I don't know how to do that. Can I do that? And my answer for you is always, you can do it unless you need special tools, which you almost never do. You can just do it. All you have to do is sometimes buy something one time, and then you can do things. And the best things to do are the things that you're going to do high volume. You're going to have to do it all the time. Learn how to do it so you're not having to take your bike to the shop all the time. So we're going to put a seat on. Usually, don't lose the pieces. That's step one. Don't go losing pieces. Where'd I put it? Well, in my case, it's usually in my pocket. Guys, we're not going to be able to do this video. I can't find the other piece. This kid should be so psyched. He's about to get it. Oh, here we go. Yeah, black on black. You need a dropper post on his bike. This is insane. Kids don't even know. He probably doesn't care. That's actually the problem. Bike dads like me, we get all jacked up. Like, oh, you got a dropper. Oh, look at this bike you got. And they're like, yeah, that's cool, Dad. They don't really get it. That's why I probably shouldn't have bought that. But I did. It's done. And now here we are. All I'm doing now is the same thing we talk about every time. We're going to talk about it every time. You got to clean your stuff. It's all got to be clean. Usually when you get a sound, a little creak, that process of finding that creak, that little clickety-clackety, little squeak, it takes forever, because if you've had your bike for a while, it could be lots of things. If you haven't had your bike for a while, it could be anything, because you don't know your bike yet. So I'd say always step one is look at the things you've done to your bike recently. Did you just put on a dropper post? If you put on a dropper post, suddenly you have a creak. It's probably somewhere in the post system, right? You got a creak because your clamp's not tight enough, your clamp's too tight, you didn't grease it, whatever. So all I've just done here is clean the nuts and bolts for the seat post. It works like this. It's a clamp and rail system. So what's cool about them is they have arrows that, if you can see, there's an arrow. And on this one, there's the arrow. You make those point the same way, and then point that towards the front of the bike, and you're set. So start off with the lower one, and then you throw these little nuts into the top. There's a little sort of boat there. And I'm gonna step away for a second. Grease is your friend. Usually when you got finicky little situations like this, it makes it real nice. Just take a little dollop of grease, pop that in there, assuming it's clean already. In the case of this back one, I didn't clean it, I guess. All right. A little bit of grease. Save the excess, because who wants to buy more grease? Take those little nuts, pop them in there. Now that grease will hold those in place a little bit while you fit your seat to where it needs to go. Now it looks like I was dumb and I didn't take the old one off yet. Seats are commonly 4mm Allen keys. They could be 5. This one's good and tight. I suppose they could be a star ratchet or some other goofy thing. We got a goofy one, of course, because I like to do these repairs in real time. One of the things I think you don't get out of some of the videos you can watch to learn how to do things is you get in a professional setup who's in a bike shop. He's got all the tools. He's been doing it for years, and he does it so easy. And usually when they do a fork service or something like that, they do it on a brand new fork, right? So then you're sitting here with your fork that's never had a service. You don't know what the hell you're doing. You're like, why don't my bolts come off so easy? Why does mine make this sound? All this kind of shit. So I think it's important to see how the jobs actually go down, because it's not all that simple. The job is simple, but there's all kinds of reasons that things won't come off as easy, or look quite the same as your parts. So I always recommend do look at multiple videos if you're not getting exactly what you're after, because there can be minor details that are different that cause you problems. Mostly just time and sometimes money. And this is experience talking. I've bought things that haven't worked. I've been off my bike for a couple weeks because I was missing a part that I needed, or got the wrong stuff. Anyway, but it's all pretty simple. So, finally getting this seat off. It's a cool seat, by the way. Commensal make dope seats. Such a cool package, the bikes that they serve. Got a little embroidery on there. Feels cool. Like, I'm like, man, this is the most affordable full suspension bike they make for kids. They don't have a huge range for kids, but man, it's just pretty tight to get something where every little detail looks cool, Just the look of the bike I find really cool too. Something I think that the other brands should pick up on. I'm having a hard time seeing why I would go back to one of the other brands when they do such a good job. So, also from the internets, I learned you grease these rails too. Just a little bit of grease on them, keeps them from creaking. So, step 2. So we got this bottom rail sitting on there. I put grease on the seat rail. I'm going to set that right on top of that. And then I'm going to take the other one, and I'm going to make sure the arrow's going forward. Just slide that right over the top. So now we've got a semicircular rail on top, a semicircular rail on the bottom. I'm going to slide the post, the seat that is, not the post, so that it will balance on its own, because I need to get my hands back over here and grab my 2 little screws. These also need just a touch of grease on each of them. All right. After that, what I like to do is put my fingers up in there and hold the nuts in place while I thread the screw on just a little bit. There we go. Alright, get that guy started. And I go to the back. Much easier to hold that little nut in place. Alright, now that guy started. So one thing I'll say, maybe the only negative thing about the Commensal seat post is this screw here. If you see that angle, it's like straight up and down, so it's really hard to get a tool in there to loosen or tighten that. One of the things that you get when you upgrade to a dropper post apparently is reverbs do a pretty good job of having those screws point away from the post a little bit, so you can get a tool on it and actually be able to action your tool without bumping it into your seat post, which is extra important if it's a reverb, because if you scratch that, you could leak air. All right. Like I said before, I always set the front to get the right tilt. I always just set the front, set it where I want it, so it holds it right there. And then all I gotta do now is just tighten the back, and it should be kind of locked in place. The way these function is they can teeter-tot rock back and forth while they're loose, and as you tighten them down, they lock where they are. So if you loosen the back and then tighten the front, it should tilt it down a little bit. If you loosen the front, then tighten the back, it'll tilt it up a little bit. All right. I don't know what the torque spec is. I can tell you it probably doesn't matter much. This is all gonna be actual like aluminum and aluminum, unless you get into having a carbon post, or a carbon seat that is. It's not gonna really matter. I would say you don't need to ham fist it and just wrench on it. You just want it to be reasonable. And you'll know sometimes they'll get loose on you while you're riding. All right, there we go. That's the seat on. Now we're all done. We're gonna go brag to the kid, and he's gonna be like, "Wow, man, that's crazy. Thanks for that dropper post, Dad." I might even lie to him and tell him I bought it instead of that I stole it off his mom's bike. Right on. Have a good day.